Welcome to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm here with Brian Mayman, and we're getting ready to have some fun this afternoon. Brian and I are way overdue to catch up. And to hear Brian talk about winning is going to be a treat. And so we won't be able to get all of our catching up done, but we'll get a lot done, but we'll also pull out of Brian a lot of lessons on how to successfully navigate life in businesses, multiple businesses, but also your family life, your personal life, everything, keeping it all together. And Brian is proof that you can win in all these areas. So welcome, Brian. Glad to have you on, man. It's exciting.
Well, thanks for having me, Larry. I couldn't be more excited right now to catch up with you. And I just got off another Zoom minutes before this. And so to say that timing is great for this podcast is an understatement.
And talk about, when I think of you, Brian, I think of adventure. It's just like, let's get with Brian and go have some adventures.
We have had those, haven't we?
And I know you have had and are continuing to have a lot of adventures in your life, and you're continue to breaking barriers for what you can do, but also bringing other people along with you, duplicating your success in your entrepreneurial side, in your service industry, in your hunting, and Lord knows what else, how far your reach is. That's one of the reasons I want to catch up. So what's going on with Brian?
Well, you know what? It's been an interesting run. The last 7-8 years have been a crazy whirlwind. So obviously, you've been a huge influence in my life personally. Starting years ago together in the financial services market and doing what we were able to do and having the success we were able to have. You were an influence in the blessing of that. And that has manifested itself. As you know, I have two boys, Noah and Lucas. Lindley and I do. And so I guess let me say this. I've been married 30 years, just had our 30th wedding anniversary. Noah,
congratulations, man.
Yes, thank you. Noah is, and I would say we're more in love today than we've ever been. Noah is 24 years old, and he came to me during COVID. He was a COVID graduate from college after playing baseball and getting his business degree. And he said, Dad, there's no real jobs out there. And there's a butcher shop that's for sale. And you have a degree in meat science and we were a butcher before you went to work with your company. And maybe I should buy that. And I said, no. And he said, well, let's look at it. So we looked at the numbers, and I like adventure, like you said. So we started a butcher shop, and we've tripled the sales. He'll be well over $2 million in sales in 2022 for sure. And,
wow.
And he's 24, loving his own life. And he told me the other day, he says, Dad, you know what's interesting about being an entrepreneur? I said, what's that? He goes, I thought it was going to be that I got to sit at a desk and make all the business decisions. He goes, I get to do everything that nobody else wants to do and everything that everybody else should be doing too.
Yes, son. You're learning your lessons.
And then Lucas is now 20 years old, and we couldn't invent a word game to get him to go to college. So he said, though, but since he's been, and you'll like this, Larry, since he's been 12, 13 years old, he's always wanted to have a barber shop in Aspen and Deer Valley and all of these little ski towns.
What?
So he said to me, he said, Dad, he said, actually said to his mom, he said, I'm going to go to barber college. I'm going to get out. And he wrote a business plan. So he is 3 barbershops in, he's opening his 4th, and he set up a distribution compensation system inside of there. And he's absolutely killing it right now. And if I would have known the barber business was so good, I probably would have been in the barber business 30 years ago too. So anyway, so both our boys are entrepreneurs, and Lindley and I are, investing with them in that, and we're loving our life. And then we started our outdoor company and our software company 10 years ago, and I just got off of a Zoom with them with one of the largest number 4 merchant services company in the world that's picking up our software and integrating it into tens of millions and millions of dollars worth of transactions. So adventure, yes. Larry, whirlwind, yes.
Yeah. I forgot. If he comes into Aspen, I'll be back in there around the middle of January. And
Okay.
I'd love to show him some of the behind the scenes things related to that industry inside of town.
We will definitely have to get hooked up, because he hasn't bought one in Aspen yet, but that was always his goal. And I will tell you this, he wants to go to that. I asked him, I said, listen, where do you want to go on a winter trip? Because I would love I would love you and I to go on a father-son trip. And he said, Aspen. I said, oh, really? He said, yes, I need to see the geographical landscape and what the pricing is there, because I would love to put myself a barbershop in Aspen. I'm like,
absolutely. And while I'm thinking about it, tell him, I'm not sure if it's up yet, but I've recorded my local friend here who's in the salon business, haircutting, Cosmo. And Cosmo is legendary in that industry, and his podcasts are going to be up soon on my site. But he might pick up some things from Cosmo. But anyway, adventure every which way. And I had actually forgotten that when you started, you were a butcher. You had your butcher business.
Yes.
And then you went into financial services,
yes.
and then expanded your financial services business. And then you went into hunting.
Yes.
And, one thing, Brian, talk about that progression. The thing for people is, follow what excites you, and you can do amazing things, because when you follow what excites you, you'll put the extra energy and effort in that most people won't put into that subject. Because like you said, one son is gung-ho about the barber business, one's gung-ho about the butcher business. And where does that come from? It comes from God. There is a source for everything. But
really does.
You can't put it in there if it's not in there, And when you follow that, you really created the foundation for them to be able to go in and pursue these kinds of passions and everything. And so talk about how you evolve from one thing to another, how you worked your way up, maximize the opportunity, and then use that situation just to jump into something even bigger and more exciting, and you kind of jumped your way through life into these things.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whitelmwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
Well, you know what? You say that, and I think that the thing that just spoke to me big is it is God. And I was talking to my mother the other day, and she said, Brian, she said, the Lord touched you with something that you always have to be on to the next. And for years it was, and still have, our financial services business. And I was an introvert by nature, and I get filled up by being by myself. And I was so attracted to you in the business and Mike Tuttle, the two of you, simply because of your approach and your no nonsense communication skill set. And so I think if you're talking about the evolution of a person in business, and I look at myself as that individual that we're talking about today, not to talk about, I don't want to talk about myself in third person. I'm talking about me personally, saying, I think that it was a divine plan. And I was in knowing what you're gravitating to, you should just gravitate to as an answer to your prayers. I was an introvert by nature. And so when I met you and you said, Brian, do this and this and this, they were specifics that I could work on. And those specifics then started developing my skill set to be able to be a communicator, to be able to, problem solve and say, okay, and then deliver products and services. I was talking to Lindley this morning early, having our morning coffee. And one of the things that we did early in business when we first met you is we made some promises to ourselves that we would deliver to our audience. And that has done nothing but transcend from business to business. And that promise was that we were going to educate, motivate, okay, and okay, for us, it was that we wanted to educate people, we wanted to motivate people to get where they needed to go. And we do this across all our businesses. And we also wanted to be able to influence them in a positive way, really have them leave, no matter if they were a butcher shop, a barber shop, our hunting company, our software business, our financial services business, were they influenced when they left to feel better about themselves, to have a great experience? And that's just transcended itself across every business that we've been able to be in. And we have just chased our dream and what we were gravitated to. And one last thing on that thought process, on April 1st in 2010, you and I, or April 2nd, 2010, you and I were leaving New York together. And I remember being in a town car leaving for the airport when we left the Waldorf Astoria. And I said to Lindley that morning, I said, so be careful what you throw out there because God might listen to it. I said, you know what? I want to own a business in the hunting and fishing industry because I love to hunt and fish so much that I'd love to own a business in that. And 10 months later, I started the company. I had no idea. I just said it. I remember saying it to her. I remember us leaving, New York that day, a handful of us together. And I remember just saying, you know what, this has been great, but I want to own a hunting business. I want to influence the hunting industry. And you know what? God had his plan and it all worked.
Yeah. And what I've noticed about you all along, and you can relate to this, you take most people and you have to tell them 1,000 things to do before they'll do one. If you're lucky, they'll do one thing. You give them 1,000 ideas, 1,000 explanations, and then if you're lucky, they may do one. On the other hand, you were the kind of guy, I think the way you responded to conversations we would have, you're the first one that made me realize there are people out there. What makes them different? And I saw it first in you is you tell this guy, Brian, one thing and he'll do 1,000 things with it.
Well, it's funny you said that because you told me two things early. You said, find your why, your crusade. What makes you tick, Brian, in financial services? What is it that gets you out of bed? So I went, okay, I did that and I'm going to do 1,000 things with it. So I found out what that was. Then the next thing you told me is you said specifically, do this more than anybody else has done it in the company. Okay. And you will have everything you ever wanted in this company. And so those were two things. Districts and crusade. I said, okay, got it, done. And I did 1,000 things with them because I wrote those two things down. And I'll never forget leaving Aspen when you called me up and said, Brian, you get to Aspen, I'll have a hotel room waiting for you. And I'm like, what? You said, I have a meeting out there. I'm putting some of the brightest minds in our industry in a room. And I was a young and upcomer. And you said, I want you there. And you invested in me. And I went, okay. I booked an airplane ticket. I remember checking in and they said, yes, Mr. Maiman, we have a room waiting for you. I'd never been in a hotel like that. I was probably making a few $100,000 a year at that time. I'd never been to a place like that. I'd never seen a $35 cheeseburger before. My mind just went boom. I remember calling Lindley going, I don't know why Larry bought a room for me, but do you have any idea how much these rooms are? And she goes, is it nice? I said, we got to come here next year, no matter what. And so you told me what to do and I ran with it.
Yes, sir. Between me and you, I want you to know I've got you on video here and we're just doing an audio recording, but congratulations on those racks on the back of your wall there, those trophies. While you were talking, I took a picture and sent it to my son, Adam.
Those are, so Adam and I need to go do a couple adventures. That is, so that's Lucas and I, we were hunting, that real wide one you're looking at, it's 31 inches spread. That was Lucas's first buck ever.
Wow.
And then about 10 minutes later, well, about an hour and a half later, but we got on the other one. And so that was one day we were blessed. And I believe they're probably father and son because they have the exact same rack, just his is bigger than mine. And so I have them sitting there because it means a lot to me. So anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And, you know, I had that cycling accident in Palm Beach, which knocked us out of our annual hunting trips, but prairie dog hunting. And you still got two of my rifles. So
I do.
Scopes.
They're right here. We need to get organized.
We got to get on. Well, I'm still not quite well yet, but hopefully I'm getting there. Hopefully this spring, you know, when it's the weather's good, we will resume our annual tradition.
Well, since then, I just want you to know I have a 77,000 acre lease with 4 dog towns on it. So we can go anytime we want and drop of a hat anywhere. So we will get that organized.
Exciting news. 77,000. Wow. Adam, I know Adam's going to be excited here, but and where is that?
It's in Montana, just north of Elzada, Montana. 77,000 total acres on the ranch. It literally takes 45 minutes to get from one end to another with a buggy.
Wow. Unbelievable. Congratulations. And looking forward to seeing it with my own eyes.
Yes, we will do that.
The only thing is my rifles, I'm sure, are antiques by now. You know, I'll probably
Nope. You still have the best. And they would, yes, you're going to, we'll have a blast.
And one of those was a gift from you.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelemwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.